So in the state of Michigan, there's a 6% sales tax. How do you calculate 6% of something? You suppose you're looking at a little Bluetooth wireless speaker, 50 bucks, one of those little JBL sound clips. How do you calculate 6% that you'd be paying for the sales tax? All right, good, good. So 6%, let's write that as a decimal, which is 0.06, or like you said, 6 over 100. Now the word of means multiply. So 6% of, you're going to multiply by 0.06. And what you'd end up with is $3. Okay, so now this section discusses, what to do with various English words, how to translate them into mathematics. And this is kind of one of them. I've got a list of these up on the board. It's also on page 70 in your book. But the idea is for you to get comfortable translating between English and math. So we're going to spend a lot of time working with expressions, etc., and trying to get, a few nuances down. So, for instance, we'll start with problem number 26. And if you have a book or if you got a electronic version of the book, I suggest you have it open to page 70 so you can kind of look at these things. We want to look at certain expressions like the difference of a number and 10. So the difference of a number and 10. So a couple things to keep in mind here. First of all, when we're looking at difference, what operation does that imply? Difference. Subtraction. Good, subtraction. So difference of a number. What do you suppose I should put in for the number? X. Yeah, because that's unknown. That's a variable. So it's X and 10. Now, let me give you two different possibilities here. There's X minus 10 and 10 minus X. Which one of them is correct? Which one of them do you think? Well, here you might want to look at page 70 a little bit. And you have to pay attention to the order that things are in. So the difference of 23 and P is 23 minus P. Whatever is coming first is first here. Second, second. And the order makes a difference because 10 minus X and X minus 10 are going to be different quantities. So which one of these is the correct one? The first one or the second one? First one. Want it in the same order. Number and X. So it'd be the first one. Let's try a different one unless there's some more discussion on this one. Problem number 28. 3/4 of the population P. So we're going back to a word that we used just a minute ago. That is back to the word of. What did we do with the word of here? How did it translate? Multiplication. So it's going to be the same thing with this one. 3/4 of the population P. That's going to translate to 3/4 times P. Do I need to write the multiplication there? Do I need to write a little time symbol? No, it's understood. When things are written next to each other like that, it's understood that they're being multiplied. So we're okay with that one. Now, one thing that happens in mathematics somewhat often is that you kind of run out of letters. Even though we do lowercase and uppercase and then tap into the Greek alphabet, lowercase and uppercase, etc. Sometimes we still run out of letters, which gives you kind of the annoying thing, like problem number 34. little s subtracted from big S. Now again, the order makes a difference. So try and figure out what order that you're going to work with in problem 34. Is it big S minus little s or little s minus big S? All right, so we got to vote for big minus little. Anyone for little minus big? All right, good. S minus little s. Yep, S minus little s. How about a couple more here? Problem number 40 and 46. 64 divided by the cube of y. And 46 is the quotient of y and 6. So again, more translation. Try and find these words on your list, or maybe you just know them. Either way, start by figuring out what operations these things imply. First one of them I hope is obvious. Second one, maybe a number or a word you haven't seen in a while, but it is on the board. It's also on page 70. Sam, what do you think? How about the first one, please?
64 divided by y cubed.
Perfect. 64 divided by y cubed. Thank you. Dino, how about this one? Quotient of y and 6. Oh, you know what? Yeah, go ahead. Let's go there. Dino, I thought I saw Dino this morning. Yeah. Quotient of y and 6. All right. Someone else. Don? Quotient of y and 6? Good. Y divided by 6. And the important thing to get here is the order. Now, I think the problem actually says the quotient of y and 6 cubed. Now, if it's y and 6 cubed, what you need is parentheses here and the cube on the outside. If you wrote y over 6 cubed, that's not the same thing. Why is it different? What's different about it? Yeah, the only thing that's getting cubed here is the y. So you would need parentheses in that. So, cool. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, please.
Okay, why, can you explain to me again why you would cube it like that? Like why you would have to have the parentheses for that one, but not the parentheses for the y on
Well, all right, so that's not the right answer, right? These are different. And the reason that they're different is that here the whole thing is getting cubed, where here just the numerator is getting cubed. The exponent here would only apply to the y. So let me do an example with some numbers, and let me try and keep them simple here. Let's do 8 divided by 4. I should have probably chosen simpler numbers. Now, the proper way to do that, or one way to do that, would be to say, okay, well, 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 cubed is 8. Now, if I wrote it like this, 8 cubed divided by 4, then that's something much different. 8 cubed is 512, divided by 4 is 128. So they're different. They're completely different kind of animals.
Sorry, my
Yeah.
question was because it says 64
Oh, over here.
And the quotient of y and 6 cubed, I just got the wording wrong.
Okay.
I was asking, because like the one, like 40, you don't have to put the parentheses, but 46 you do, but I see.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't.
So this cube of y is all your denominator. Yeah. Thank you. Anything else on 46 or 40? All right. Let me give you a couple to think about. And these are kind of going the opposite direction. We're going to start out with the expression and then work towards the what you would say in English. Now, there's going to be a couple different things you can say on a lot of these things. So let's just see what you figure out. We'll start with 54, and then 56, and 60. So try and figure out, what you would say. If you're reading this to somebody, how would you read it? D. Yeah, that's a D. By the way, this is an S. It's not 25, it's an S. Okay, Autumn. How about the first one? What can we write there? Mark, how about the first one? No what? Yeah, go ahead. All right, good. 2/3 of, which means multiply, D. Good. Anyone else got some other? Yes. Yeah, that's the one you got too. Oh, you want to do the next one? Sure. All right. Uh, a number increased by 19. All right. What else did you guys get? That's a good one. Go ahead. C and 19. The sum of C and 19. Good. There's a lot of different things you can put. Go ahead. All right. 19 added to a number. There's probably a few more there. How about the first one? Is there anything else I can write for the first one? All right. 2 divided by 3 times D. Good one. That one works fine. 2/3 times D would also work. So there's a lot of different things you can write when you're doing these things. It just depends on, your mood, etc. And when I grade these things, I have to be particularly careful. I look through them, make sure that what you have is fine. You'll get an answer key posted online, but it's not going to list every possibility. And chances are you can have something that's right, and it won't be on the answer key, but that's all right. I will mark it correct. How about the last one? And that is an S. Go ahead.
8 less than the product of 2 and S.
Woo, very good. So 8 less than the product of 2 and S. Yeah, I like that one. Good job. Anyone else got something different? Yes.
I get 8 subtract from 2 of S.
All right. 8 subtracted from 2 times S. 8 subtracted from 2 times S. So there's a lot of possibilities on these things. It just, takes a little while to get comfortable with them. But what I suggest you do is familiarize yourself with these lists. The list on page 70. That's going to help you translate back and forth between, arithmetic and algebra and English. Let's try problem number 72. And what we're doing is we're trying to introduce variables and lay the groundwork for stuff that we're going to do in chapter 2, which is start working with equations. And, really the guts of equations is having to work with variables and then eventually to solve for variables. So, let me just put it up on the board here this way. There we go. So if 1 egg is worth, they have E cents, find the value in cents of 1 dozen eggs. Boy, that's just kind of strange. But if you have, the value of one of them, say an egg costs, let's see, a dozen for about $3, so 25 cents an egg maybe. If an egg costs 25 cents, how much does 3 eggs cost? 75 cents. And what'd you do to get that?
I multiplied it.
Yeah, you multiplied it. Good. So you took how much they were worth and you multiplied it, right? So we're going to do the same thing here. Now, how many in a dozen? Yeah, E times 12, or 12 times E. So if 1 egg is worth E cents, then find the value in cents of 1 dozen eggs. So it's going to be 12 times that. So the answer there would be 12E. And let's see. I'm trying to decide if I want to put dollars or... No, I guess it'd be cents, right? Cents, because 12 cents. 12 cents an egg seems kind of cheap, but good on you. You're a good shopper. Another thing that we're going to work with in working with expressions is the need to substitute in to different expressions. So stuff like problem number 80 and 82. Now in these next problems, they're going to give us x is equal to 3, y is equal to negative 2, and z is equal to negative 4. So these values are given, and what they're going to ask you to do is evaluate certain expressions. So problem number 80 is negative y minus 5x, and they're going to ask you to plug in the values of x and y, and if there's a z, plug in that as well, and evaluate this expression. My suggestion to you, whenever you're dealing with expressions like this and substituting in, is to substitute in with parentheses. Excuse me. That is, wherever you see a variable, put a parenthesis. The reason for that is it's really easy to overlook things like the double negative here. There's a double negative. What happens with this double negative? It's going to become, yeah, it's going to become positive. And then minus 5 times 3. So I strongly suggest you do that. It's up to you whether or not you do. But the double negative becomes positive, so it's going to be 2 minus 15. What's 2 minus 15? Yes, minus 13. Let's try a couple more like that. Problem number 82. Minus z squared minus z minus 12. And again, we need to be careful with, bless you, need to be careful with plugging things in. Now, if you follow my advice and use parentheses, then you should have a parentheses something squared. That negative stays on the outside. You're not squaring the negative. If I wanted that negative squared, I would have put parentheses around the negative and the z. It's just parentheses, or yeah, just the z that's squared, so parentheses there. Give that one a shot, see what you can come up with. We'll look at a couple more here. All right, just throw up some guesses. I want to hear what you got. Just throw out some numbers that you got. I'm sure we got a 124.
Negative 24.
Oh, negative 24. All right. What else? Everyone got negative 24? Somebody has to have something else. Really? You guys are all in lockstep. All right. So we're either all right or all wrong. 8. 8. All right. Appreciate. What was the other one? 8. All right. A couple votes for 8. Negative 24. Let's see. Let's see. First things first, do what's inside the parentheses. Well, there's not much inside the parentheses. What comes after parentheses? What do your order of operations say you do? Exponents. So we'll work on the exponents next. Let's square this. What's negative 4 squared? 16. So that's negative of 16. What happens to the double negative here? Positive 4 minus 12. Now, if you wanted to, you could do this. Negative 16 plus 4 plus negative 12. Remember, subtraction is like adding the opposite. Can anyone suggest a reason why I want to think of it that way? These two numbers have the same sign, right? So what do you do with two numbers that have the same sign when you're adding them? Two numbers that you're adding. Yeah, thank you. Keep the sign, add the numbers. So 16 and 12 gives you 28. Keep the sign as negative 28. So negative 28 plus 4. Now we have to think a little bit. These have opposite signs. Subtract the smaller from the larger. 28 minus 4 is 24. Is 24 our answer? There you go. Negative 24. So negative 24 is your answer on that one. Okay. So how are we looking on 82? The tricky thing is this part right here, I would think, is making sure that you square that and get a positive 16, but that negative stays out in front. These do not cancel each other out. Yeah, it's kind of because of the squared. what really is happening here is you have to do the square part first, and that's when it becomes positive. Another way to think of what's going on here is this. If you were to write this out, you've got a negative. Now when I square something, I end up multiplying it by itself. So it's negative 4 times negative 4. How many negative signs do I have here? 3. And 3 is an odd number of negative signs, so you expect a negative number. Remember that little rule we went over the other day? Odd and even in terms of the exponents, in terms of the number of negative signs. So, is there a square with 86? Did I not copy that down right? Oh yeah, that's even more special. That's awesome. Tell you what, I'm going to recopy that on the next page. So, are we okay with 82 here? Now, these brackets here are equivalent to parentheses. The reason that sometimes authors and myself will use brackets versus parentheses is just so that you can line things up a little bit better. It's clear to see that we're squaring the whole thing because the whole thing is in the brackets. But I could have just as easily written this with parentheses. It's just not quite as abundantly clear that, okay, I'm squaring everything. You have to look at it a little bit closer. So it's just a visual thing. It's to help you see what's going on here. Nonetheless, we're still going to plug in negative 4. And that's going to be a little bit of a chore. Oh, I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but it kind of does. So that's cool. All right, so negative 4 and negative 4, like that. What does your order of operations say we have to do first? Parentheses. So we have to figure out what's in here first and what's in here. I'll list it as first as well. I mean, we're going to do those both kind of at the same time. You're going to go to the innermost parentheses and figure out what those are. So work on those. That should give you a couple numbers. We're going to multiply those numbers together to finish off what's in the brackets. And then you got to square it. And for that last part, you can take a look at the left-hand side board. Try not to use your calculator. Remember, on the first test, we're not going to be using calculators. So see if you can't finish that one up. First one with the right answer gets Lions tickets. Woo-hoo! Did you want 40-yard line or 50-yard line? Okay, 50-yard line. All right, that'll work. All right. Let's see here, though. Let's do this together. What's negative 4 minus 1? Negative 5. And negative 4 plus 1? Negative 3. A negative times a negative is positive. All right, so positive 15 and 15 squared. Boy, on the spot, 225. Thank you. Thank you. Let's do one last one from the section and call it a day on this stuff. Problem number 88. Negative 2x, excuse me, negative 2. You know what? That negative's out in front, isn't it? Yeah. All right, so put that negative out in front. 2z squared minus x over 2x minus y.
Square.
There's another square there. Cool. Kind of like our previous ones. I suggest that you go through here. I don't know why I want to put the negative there. Just do. I think it deserves to be there because I keep on making this Freudian slip of putting it there. So 2, and that squared minus this. 2 times this minus something squared. Remember, x, y, and z, we're still using the same values of 3, negative 2, and 4. And that's not a negative in front of the 2. There is a negative out in front of the entire fraction. There you go. A little Photoshop never hurt. So this one's more challenging. If we can get this one right, I think we're doing pretty good. Help each other out too. I mean, it's all right. Feel free to talk to each other and help each other out. That's great. It's tough for me to get around to everybody for each problem, so if you want to help each other out, I'd appreciate that. I mean, the way you wrote it, it's probably right. But that's not the way the problem is written. Okay, so let's plug some things in here and see how we do. Z is negative 4. X is 3. X is 3 again. And Y is negative 2. So let's make that look like a negative. There we go. We'll start out in the numerator. We have to do each part of this, the numerator and denominator, kind of separately until we've whittled it all the way down to one number. So in the numerator, the place to start is with the squaring. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. In the denominator, we'll start with the square there. 2 times 3 minus negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 2 times negative 2. That subtraction between these doesn't disappear. In the numerator, continuing up there, we'll do the multiplication next. Multiplication or division, whichever you see from left to right. 6 minus 4. And last but not least, 29. Oh, you know what? I should be carrying around a negative all the way out on this, right? Because there's a negative here to begin with. So negative 29 over 2. A lot of you got that one right. Good job. Let me again encourage you to show me some of your work. In walking around, I saw that somebody accidentally had the negative sign up here and ended up with negative 35 over 2. It's a small mistake, but, you know, if I was grading a paper and all I saw at the end of somebody's problem was an answer of, you know, like negative 35 over 2, look, if there's no work and you've got the wrong answer, I can't figure out what you did. In walking around, when I saw that one, negative 35 over 2, I'm like, oh, okay, no, that negative is supposed to be out in front. So, you know, small mistakes like that, that's maybe 1 point. But if you don't show me your work, I can't give you partial credit. So please try and show me your work in these things. For homework, try 9 through 13, 25 through 71, 77 through 83, 89, and 97. That's section 1.8. And the homework for that starts on page 75.